I wasn't supposed to find it. That's the first thing I need to say. If I had just stayed where I was, if I hadn't been curious, none of this would have happened. But I did find it. And it was exactly the thing that sent everything into a downward spiral. It started innocently enough. I had spent the entire evening pacing in the living room, waiting for her to come home. The night felt like it was dragging on longer than it should have. I had no particular reason to be worried. Maria had gone out with her friends to celebrate a colleague's birthday. She was always a social butterfly, and I was used to her coming home late when she went out. But tonight, something felt off. I kept glancing at the clock, trying to distract myself with whatever I could. The TV was on, some random show playing in the background, but I wasn't paying attention to it. My mind kept wandering, and eventually, I found myself walking toward the door. I didn't know why. I had no intention of going anywhere, but it was like my feet were moving on their own. The doorbell rang. It wasn't her. I opened the door, and there was no one standing on the porch. But there was a package, neatly placed on the welcome mat. It was wrapped in brown paper, unmarked, with no return address. For a second, I thought about leaving it. Maybe it was just a mistake, a misdelivery. But curiosity got the best of me. I picked it up and brought it inside, sitting down on the couch to examine it. My hands shook as I turned the package over. There was something so ordinary about it, yet the weight of it in my hands felt strange, like it was hiding something. I untied the twine that was wrapped around it and carefully unwrapped the paper. Inside, I found a small wooden box. Nothing special about it at first glance. Just a plain, simple box, the kind you might find at a craft store. But then I noticed it. There was something carved into the lid. A name. It wasn't my name. It wasn't Maria's either. It was Lena. The name sent a chill down my spine. Who was Lena? Why would this box be addressed to someone I didn't know? It was the kind of thing that didn't make sense, but I couldn't stop myself from wanting to find out more. I couldn't just ignore it. I opened the box. Inside, there was a photograph. It was old, the edges slightly curled, but the image was clear. It was a picture of Maria, taken at what appeared to be some kind of outdoor gathering. She looked so happy, her face lit up with that smile I loved. But what struck me was the man standing next to her. I didn't recognize him, but there was an undeniable connection between them. He had his arm around her waist, and their eyes were locked together in a way that felt too familiar. I stared at the photo for what felt like an eternity. This was wrong. My heart started pounding in my chest. This wasn't just a casual picture. Something about the way they were standing, the closeness. It wasn't the kind of thing a married woman should be doing. My thoughts raced. Had I missed something? Was this some kind of joke, or was it a mistake? I heard the front door open, and I jumped up, quickly hiding the box behind the couch. Maria walked in, looking tired but happy, as she always did when she had a good time with her friends. She didn't seem to notice anything unusual. "Hey, babe," she said, her voice cheerful. "Sorry I'm late. The party ran longer than I expected." I forced a smile, trying to act normal. But inside, my mind was spinning. My gut was telling me that something wasn't right. I wanted to ask her about the box, about the picture, but I couldn't find the words. What if I was wrong? What if it meant nothing? What if I was just being paranoid? "Did you have fun?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She smiled, tossing her purse on the counter. "Yeah, it was great. You know how Sarah gets when she starts talking about work. She could go on for hours." She laughed lightly, but there was something in her tone that felt rehearsed. I nodded, but my thoughts were elsewhere. "That's good," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "Did you get anything interesting?" She raised an eyebrow, her smile still plastered on her face. "What do you mean? Like a gift?" she asked with a slight laugh. I shook my head quickly. No, I mean, anything interesting happened while you were out?" She shrugged, clearly not understanding why I was acting so strangely. "Not really. Just the usual. Oh, you should have seen Michael's face when he tried to pull off that magic trick. It was hilarious." Michael. That name lingered in the air for a moment longer than it should have. I knew I had to say something. But what? How do you ask your wife about a photo you've never seen before, about a connection that doesn't make sense? How do you confront her about something that might be nothing, but feels like everything? I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could form the words, I heard her phone buzz from the counter. "Hold on, let me check this," Maria said, walking over to pick it up. As she unlocked her phone, my eyes instinctively dropped to the table where I had hidden the box. I couldn't take my mind off it. The more I thought about it, the more I felt like it was the key to something bigger, something I wasn't prepared to face. She turned back to me, her phone still in her hand. It's just a work email. Don't worry about it. I wanted to ask her again. I wanted to demand answers, to tear the mystery open like a wound that needed healing. But instead, I stayed silent. In that moment, I knew one thing for sure. Whatever I thought I knew about Maria, about our life, was about to be shattered. The box was just the beginning, and I had no idea how deep the rabbit hole went. Maria walked into the kitchen, humming lightly as she pulled a bottle of water from the fridge. Her back was to me, and for a moment, I just stood there, frozen. The photograph, the name, Lena. I had to know more. My brain kept going in circles, trying to piece together what was happening. But the more I thought about it, the less sense it made. Why would Maria be involved with someone named Lena? I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something, something important. Are you okay? Maria's voice broke through my thoughts. I turned around to see her standing in the doorway, her eyebrows furrowed. I smiled, probably a little too wide. Yeah, just tired, I said, trying to shake off the heaviness that had settled in my chest. She didn't seem convinced, but instead of pushing it, she just nodded. Well, I'm going to take a shower, and then we can catch up, okay? I nodded back, not trusting my voice. As she turned to head upstairs, I couldn't stop myself. I stepped over to the couch and grabbed the box again, trying to hold my breath as I lifted the lid. The photograph was still there, taunting me. I ran my fingers over the picture, over the faces of Maria and the man who was standing too close to her. I needed to know who he was. I needed to know why this picture was here. But I didn't have the answers. At least not yet. I put the photograph back in the box, feeling an odd sense of dread wash over me. What was I supposed to do with this? Should I confront Maria right now? Should I demand answers? No, I told myself. That wouldn't help. Not yet. I needed more. Suddenly, I heard a sound from upstairs. It was faint, but it was enough to break me out of my thoughts. Maria was talking. But who was she talking to? I froze. I knew it wasn't a phone call because I had just seen her phone. She had left it on the counter. So, if she was speaking to someone, it could only be. I shook my head, trying to clear the thought. But it was already there. Something wasn't right. I wasn't paranoid. I couldn't afford to be. I needed answers, and I needed them now. My pulse quickened, and I couldn't help but stand up, pacing around the living room. The box was still on the table, but I couldn't focus on it anymore. I needed to hear the conversation. I needed to know what Maria was saying, who she was speaking to. I moved quietly to the foot of the stairs. I didn't want her to hear me, but I needed to know. Then I heard it. A voice. But not Maria's. It was a man's voice, low and smooth. Are you sure you're okay with this? The voice asked. I froze. My heart skipped a beat. I couldn't believe it. My stomach twisted in knots as I realized what was happening. The voice was familiar. Too familiar. I knew that voice. It was Michael's. My thoughts were spinning. The conversation was happening right above me. Maria and Michael. What were they talking about? What was going on? I pressed myself against the wall, trying not to make a sound, my hands shaking against the railing. It was almost impossible to breathe. I needed to hear everything. I strained my ears, hoping they wouldn't hear me eavesdropping, praying I could piece together the pieces of this twisted puzzle. And then, I heard Maria's voice again, softer this time, but still unmistakably her. I'm not sure, but it feels like we're getting closer. Like we can't stop now. Closer? Stop? My heart raced, and I couldn't make sense of it. What were they talking about? What was happening between them? I had to know, but I also knew I couldn't stay here much longer. I had to confront her, confront them. I had to figure out what the hell was going on. With a deep breath, I slowly moved back to the couch, my mind racing. It was clear that Maria was hiding something. But what? And why did she feel the need to hide it from me? I stared at the photograph again, at the picture of her and Michael, the closeness that was so evident in the image. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the more I thought about it, the more I couldn't ignore the sinking feeling in my gut. Something had changed. Something was happening behind my back. But what? I had no answers, only questions. And I didn't know if I was ready for the truth. Maria came back downstairs a few minutes later, her face flushed from the shower, and her hair still damp. She looked at me, her smile as warm as ever. But I couldn't shake the image of her and Michael from my mind. Are you sure you're okay? She asked again, her eyes searching mine. I wanted to tell her everything I had found, everything I had overheard. I wanted to demand the truth. But instead, I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. Yeah, I'm fine, I said, even though I felt anything but. The night dragged on, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Maria seemed completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. She was cheerful, almost too cheerful, and it made my skin crawl. She flopped onto the couch beside me, her damp hair still smelling like the lavender shampoo she always used. I had to force myself not to pull away. There was a gap between us now, something invisible but palpable, like a wall had been erected without me noticing. Do you want to watch a movie? Maria asked, her voice light. She grabbed the remote, clicking through the channels aimlessly. I nodded, though I wasn't really paying attention to the TV. My mind was racing. I needed answers. I needed to know if what I had heard earlier was real. But how could I ask? How could I confront her without sounding like a complete lunatic? That's when it happened. Her phone buzzed, loudly, cutting through the silence of the room. She didn't even look at it, just tossed it casually onto the coffee table. Who's that? I asked, my voice sounding more strained than I intended. Maria glanced at the phone, then at me. Oh, it's just work. I'll check it later. I didn't believe her. The way she said it, almost too dismissive, didn't sit right. My eyes stayed fixed on the phone as if I could somehow read the messages from across the room. It buzzed again, and this time, she hesitated. I'll get it, I said before she could move. Without waiting for her response, I grabbed the phone. Maria shot me an incredulous look, her eyebrows furrowed. What are you doing? She asked, a slight edge in her voice. I didn't know what I was doing, but in that moment, it felt like the only thing I could do. I flipped the phone over to see the screen. There it was, clear as day, a message from Michael. Just his name and a single sentence. We need to talk. I felt the blood drain from my face. I didn't know if it was the words themselves or the fact that she hadn't mentioned him once since she came back. I tried to stay calm, but my heart was hammering in my chest. Maria, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Who's Michael? What's going on between you two? Her face went pale. For a second, she looked like a deer caught in headlights. The air in the room thickened with tension. She began, but stopped, clearly struggling to find the right words. I don't know what you think is going on, but it's nothing. Nothing, I repeated, my voice rising. Then why are you hiding his texts? Why did I hear you talking to him upstairs? Don't lie to me, Maria. She stood up suddenly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. You're not listening, she snapped. You're twisting everything. I stayed seated, not wanting to escalate things, but I couldn't just sit back and pretend I hadn't heard what I'd heard. My pulse was racing, and I felt like I was going to explode. You're hiding something from me, Maria. I don't know what it is, but I have to know the truth. She stared at me, her face a mix of frustration and guilt. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. I felt like I was holding my breath, waiting for her to say something. Anything that would make sense of all this. Then, she slowly sat back down on the couch, avoiding my gaze. It's complicated, she muttered. Complicated, I repeated, leaning forward. What's complicated about it? She swallowed hard, her hands shaking slightly. Michael, he's not just a colleague. He's someone from my past, She stopped again, her voice trailing off. Someone you what? My heart skipped a beat. I couldn't help myself. I leaned in closer, hanging on every word she said next. I was going to tell you, she continued in a barely audible whisper. But I didn't know how. Tell me what? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She looked at me, her eyes filled with regret. There's more to Michael than you know. More than I've told you. But I never meant for you to find out like this. My mind was reeling. What was she saying? What did she mean? Maria, I said, my voice tight with tension, you need to tell me everything. She took a deep breath and, for the first time that night, I saw her look genuinely afraid. I'm not proud of it, she said softly. But Michael and we were involved before we met. There's history there. But it's over now. I swear to you, it's over. I felt like the floor had dropped out beneath me. Everything I thought I knew about our relationship, about her, felt like it was slipping away. And just as I was about to say something, anything, the phone buzzed again. This time, the message was even more direct. I'm coming over. I froze, staring at the screen. Maria? My voice caught in my throat. She stood up quickly, snatching the phone from my hand. It's not what you think. I'll handle this, she said, her voice trembling. But I knew this wasn't over. This was just the beginning. The room felt suffocating. Maria had taken the phone, but the air between us was thick with unspoken words. She was holding it too tightly, like it was a lifeline she couldn't let go of. Her fingers trembled as she typed, and for a moment, I couldn't bring myself to speak. I knew this wasn't just a simple misunderstanding. Whatever was going on with Michael, it was more than I could have ever imagined. She stood there, phone pressed to her chest, avoiding my gaze. "I'll deal with it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Deal with it?" I echoed, my anger building up, knotting in my stomach. "Maria, you can't just—" The doorbell rang, cutting me off mid-sentence. I froze. Maria's eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw genuine panic in her face. I told him not to come," she stammered, but the fear in her voice was obvious. I didn't move. I couldn't. The doorbell rang again, insistent this time. "I'll handle this," Maria said quickly, rushing to the door. I stood there, my body frozen in place, torn between wanting to stay where I was or follow her. But curiosity pushed me forward. I stepped quietly to the hallway, just far enough to see her through the crack in the door. She opened it. Michael stood there, tall and imposing. His smile was too smooth, too confident. He wasn't surprised to see me standing behind Maria. "Can we talk?" Michael asked, his voice calm, almost too calm. He looked past Maria and directly at me, his gaze steady, almost challenging. I couldn't believe what was happening. Maria stood between us, her body tense, her hands clasped together nervously. She looked back and forth between the two of us, her eyes pleading. "Michael, please," Maria said softly, "not now. Not like this." But Michael wasn't listening. "We need to talk," he repeated, this time his tone a little sharper, more insistent. I stepped forward, my anger finally breaking through the walls I'd put up. "What the hell is going on here?" I demanded, my voice rising. "Why is he here, Maria? After everything. Please, just let us talk." Maria's voice cracked as she stepped toward me, her hands raised in a futile attempt to calm the situation. "This has nothing to do with you. Please." But it had everything to do with me. Michael's smile faded slightly, but his eyes never left mine. "You don't understand, do you?" he said, almost mocking. "This has always been more than you think." The words hit me like a slap. "More than I think." I repeated, my heart racing. "What does that mean?" Maria stepped back, biting her lip, the weight of her silence crushing me. I turned to her, desperate for an explanation, but she just shook her head. "Please, just go," she said quietly to Michael. "I'll talk to you tomorrow. Just not tonight." Michael didn't move. "This isn't over," he said, his voice cold. Then, with one last look at me, he turned and walked away, leaving us standing in the doorway. As soon as the door closed, I snapped. "What the hell was that?" I shouted, turning to Maria. "Who the hell is he to you? What is going on, Maria?" She looked at me, her face pale, her lips trembling. "I didn't want you to find out like this. I really didn't." I stepped closer, forcing her to meet my gaze. "Then what is it? What am I supposed to think? What is he to you?" Maria swallowed hard, then finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. He's not just someone from my past. She hesitated, as though every word was like a weight on her chest. "He's someone I'm still connected to. Someone I can't let go of." I felt like the floor had just been ripped out from under me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand that she tell me everything right now, but the words caught in my throat. "What does that mean?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mixture of fear and rage. Maria closed her eyes, her shoulders slumping in defeat. "It's not what you think. I never meant for this to happen. But Michael and we were never just friends. We were something more, and I can't just pretend like it never happened." I took a step back, trying to process her words. "You've been lying to me. All this time." Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't try to hide them. "I didn't lie, not on purpose. I never meant for you to find out like this, but I couldn't keep running from it. I couldn't keep hiding the truth." The truth. I stood there, staring at her, feeling like the world I had built was crumbling around me. Michael wasn't just some random acquaintance. He was someone who still held a place in her life, a place that, for some reason, I didn't fit into. "Why?" I whispered. "Why him? Why now?" "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I need to figure this out. For both of us." And with that, I knew. I wasn't going to get the answers I needed tonight. Not yet. But I wasn't ready to let this go. Not by a long shot. I couldn't breathe. The weight of Maria's words hung in the air, suffocating me. Michael and her, something more than friends? My mind was racing, trying to connect dots that didn't quite add up. She was standing there, her face flushed, eyes downcast, almost as if she were ashamed, but also relieved. It didn't make sense. Why hadn't she told me any of this? Why keep something so important a secret? I never meant for this to happen, she repeated, almost pleading. I couldn't hold back anymore. You didn't mean for what to happen, Maria? To lie to me for who knows how long. My voice trembled with anger, disbelief. Her shoulders slumped, and she took a step back, trying to put some distance between us. I didn't lie, but I kept things from you. I thought I could control it, that it would just go away. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. My pulse was hammering, my thoughts racing. You thought you could control it? You thought I wouldn't find out? My voice was growing louder, but I couldn't stop it. How long, Maria? How long has this been going on? She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She looked at me, eyes wide, tears welling up again. She was losing control, and I could see the cracks in her perfect mask. I never meant to hurt you, she whispered, almost choking on the words. But Michael, he means something to me. More than just work. He was my escape, and I. Your escape? I cut her off, the sting of betrayal rising like acid in my throat. Your escape from what, Maria? From me? She flinched at the question, like I had struck her. For a moment, the room felt like it was closing in. Her secret, her past with him, was tearing us apart. I didn't want to leave you, she said softly. But with Michael, things are complicated. Complicated, I repeated, my breath coming faster. What's complicated about it, Maria? You had a choice. You chose him. Her face paled at that, and I saw something shift in her expression. The guilt, the shame, it was all there, raw and undeniable. But there was something else too. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. I didn't choose him, she said quietly. It's just, he's always been there, even before you. That was the moment that broke me. The realization that I wasn't the person she needed. That I wasn't the one who had been there all along. And that, perhaps, I had never truly known her. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, my voice cracking. She took a shaky breath. I didn't want to lose you. I thought I could fix it, but I can't. We stood in silence, the weight of everything hanging between us. I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand more answers, to make her feel the same pain I was feeling. But something stopped me. I didn't know if it was the exhaustion, the disbelief, or something else, but for the first time in a long time, I felt completely lost. I don't know what to say anymore, I muttered, looking away, trying to keep my composure. I need space, Maria. I need time to think. She nodded slowly, not saying anything else. I could see the tears now, streaming down her face, but I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. I didn't know how to anymore. I turned away, heading for the door. I didn't know where I was going, but I needed to get out. I needed to breathe. I slammed the door behind me, stepping out into the cold night air. The cool breeze hit my face, but it did nothing to calm the storm raging inside me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think straight. Maria's words echoed in my mind, over and over again. He's always been there, even before you. I didn't know how to process it. Was I just another chapter in her life, or had I been blind to something deeper? I walked aimlessly, my mind running a mile a minute. Michael, Maria, the photograph. It was all connected somehow, but the pieces didn't fit. It felt like there was a link missing, something I couldn't grasp, and it was driving me mad. I passed a few blocks, not really caring where I was going. I was hoping to clear my head, but the more I walked, the more I realized I wasn't running from Maria. I was running from myself, from the uncomfortable truth that I didn't know who she was anymore. It wasn't until I found myself standing in front of a small cafe that I realized how late it had gotten. The place was nearly empty, save for a couple sitting near the window. I pushed the door open and stepped inside, needing a moment to gather myself. The dim lighting and quiet hum of the cafe were oddly comforting. I took a seat at the counter, my eyes on the steaming cup of coffee in front of me, but my mind wasn't there. I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. I didn't want to look. I knew who it was, and I knew what the message would say. But curiosity got the best of me. I pulled the phone out and unlocked it. Maria's name flashed across the screen. Please, can we talk? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I hesitated for a moment, my thumb hovering over the screen. The words felt like they were suffocating me, like I was drowning in them. She was sorry. She always said that when things got tough. But could I trust her anymore? I slammed the phone down on the counter, frustrated with myself. I wanted to reply, to scream at her, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Not yet. Not when I still had so many questions swirling in my head. That's when I saw it. A familiar face entered the cafe. It was Michael. I didn't know why he was here, or why I even noticed him. But there he was, standing at the door like he owned the place. His gaze swept across the room, landing directly on me. For a moment, neither of us moved. I could feel the tension building, thick and suffocating. He took a step toward me, his hands tucked into his coat pockets. "I didn't expect to find you here," Michael said, his voice smooth, calculated. "Mind if I join you?" I didn't answer. I just stared at him, my pulse racing again. What was he doing here? Why now? He took it as an invitation, sitting down without waiting for a response. "I know this isn't ideal, but we need to talk." His eyes were calm, almost too calm, and I hated how he could remain so collected. "Talk about what?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Everything's been said, hasn't it?" He chuckled, leaning back in his seat. "Not even close. You're missing the most important part." I frowned, not understanding. "What part?" "The part where you realize Maria has been lying to both of us," he said, his words cutting through the silence. "And I'm not talking about her hiding things from you. She's hiding things from me too." My mind raced. Was he confessing something? Was this his way of trying to make me feel sorry for him? "What are you talking about?" I demanded, my voice sharp now. "What does this have to do with you?" He leaned in, his voice lowering. "You think it's all about Maria, don't you? But it's not. She's hiding more than just us. She's hiding the fact that she's been playing both sides for longer than you know. And the worst part is, I'm not sure who she's more attached to, you or me." My heart sank. "What are you saying?" He smiled, a cold, almost sinister smile. "I'm saying you're not the only one she's been lying to. You're just the last one to find out." I sat there, frozen, as his words sank in. This wasn't just some affair. It wasn't just about Michael and Maria. There was something much darker, something deeper, that I hadn't seen. And Michael, he wasn't here to make peace. He wasn't here to apologize. He was here to finish what had been started. And as the seconds ticked by, I realized that the truth I had been looking for was finally within reach. But it was going to cost me everything. Michael's words hung in the air like a dark cloud, suffocating everything around us. My mind was spinning. I couldn't process it. What was he trying to say? What was this thing between him and Maria? "You think I'm lying?" I finally asked, trying to steady my voice. Michael leaned back in his chair, his expression a mix of pity and amusement. "Not lying, no. But there are things you don't understand. Things Maria's been keeping from both of us." I shook my head, trying to make sense of his words. "I don't care about your games, Michael. I just want to know what's been going on with Maria. You both have been hiding things, and it's been tearing me apart." He nodded, like he was finally getting through to me. "I'm not here to hurt you, man. I'm here to help you understand. You think you're the only one in the dark?" I clenched my fists under the table. "What are you talking about?" I demanded again. Michael's gaze was cold now, his eyes locking with mine. "Maria didn't just keep us a secret. She's been keeping something from everyone. The whole story, the whole truth. It's much bigger than either of us." I felt a chill run through me. "What are you saying?" "Maria's not who you think she is," Michael said, his voice low. "You know she has a past, right? Well, she's still living it. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about someone else." I stared at him, unable to form words. Someone else? My mind raced. Was there another man? Had I been completely blind to everything? "You think it's just about her and me, don't you?" Michael continued, leaning closer. "She has a connection with someone else, someone who's been pulling strings all along. And it's all been building up to this." I felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. I couldn't breathe. "Who is it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Michael smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was knowing, like he had the upper hand. "That's the part one can't tell you yet. But trust me, it's not over. You have no idea what you're dealing with." He stood up, throwing some cash on the counter. "Figure it out, and when you do, you'll understand why this was never just about us." I watched him walk out of the cafe, the door swinging closed behind him with a finality that echoed in my chest. I sat there for a long time, the weight of his words crushing me. Maria had been hiding something. Something I couldn't see. Something bigger than all of this. And I had to find out what it was. Before it was too late, I had no answers, just questions, and one terrifying realization. Whatever Maria was hiding, it was only just beginning. I didn't know how long I sat there in the cafe, lost in my thoughts. Michael's cryptic words kept echoing in my mind, each one louder than the last. You have no idea what you're dealing with. What was he talking about? What was this secret that Maria had been keeping from me? The more I thought about it, the more frustrated I became. I couldn't keep running in circles, chasing answers that didn't make sense. I had to confront Maria. I couldn't let this consume me any longer. I left the cafe and headed home. The night was quiet, almost too quiet, and for the first time, I noticed how eerie the silence felt. When I stepped through the door, there she was, sitting on the couch, waiting for me. Her eyes were red, her face pale. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. I stood there for a moment, unsure of what to say. The anger, the confusion, all of it was still bubbling inside me. But something in her expression stopped me. She was waiting for me, just as I had been waiting for her. I'm sorry, she whispered, breaking the silence before I could speak. I should have told you everything. I should have trusted you with the truth. I felt my chest tighten. Maria, I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't know what to think. She stood up, walking slowly toward me. I never wanted to hurt you, and I never meant to keep you in the dark. The truth is, it's not easy to face, even for me. But I'm ready now. I swallowed hard, trying to process what she was saying. What truth, Maria? She took a deep breath. It's not about Michael. It's not about anyone else. It's about me. About my past. I've been running from it, from the person I used to be. I thought if I kept it buried, it wouldn't matter. But it does. And it's been eating me up inside. Her voice trembled, and I saw the vulnerability in her eyes. The walls she had built around herself were crumbling, and for the first time, I felt like I was seeing the real Maria. I need you to know this, she continued. I've changed. I'm not that person anymore. And I want to be with you, but I need you to understand what I've been carrying. I could feel my heart softening. All the anger, the confusion, it was fading. It didn't matter what secrets she had kept or how long it had taken to get here. What mattered was that she was finally being honest with me. That was all I had ever wanted, the truth. I'm not perfect, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But I want to be better for you. I want to be the person you deserve. I stepped closer, my hand reaching for hers. Maria, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears, but this time, they weren't of regret. They were of relief. I'm scared, she admitted. Scared of losing you. Scared of everything I've done. I cupped her face gently, wiping away a tear. You're not losing me. We're in this together. All of it. The good, the bad, the ugly. We stood there for a long moment, the weight of the past finally lifting. And in that moment, I knew we were going to be okay. It wasn't going to be easy. We had a lot to work through, but we were going to face it together. As the night wore on, we talked. We shared everything. The mistakes, the regrets, the fears. But we also shared the hope. The hope that we could rebuild, that we could find our way back to each other. And when we finally went to bed that night, I held her close, knowing that the journey ahead wouldn't be easy. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. We had our truth. And now, we could move forward. Together.